In this month of May, how do you relate to the environment? It's key. In fact, life is going to bring you certain discomforts so that you can look at what perhaps you didn't want to look at that made you lazy. Discomfort will easily bring you a good look, a good perspective. If you know how to straighten this matter, in this podcast, I share advice that comes directly from the beings of light so that you have a month of May that aligns you well with that place where there is fullness and authentic peace. Hello, how are you? I'm Marsa Carbonell, professional plumber. In these monthly podcasts, I share with you the energies that accompany us, energies that come from the stars of the earth, from our own society, and that are mixed to give us a good mixture of something very positive, always positive. Remember, although the teachings that life brings us are sometimes a little peculiar, they always seek to bring out our best version of it, and this month of May is no exception. The beings of light tell us that in this month of May, relationships have an important weight, but not relationships only from person to person. How do you relate to what surrounds you? How do you relate? How do you relate to your work project? With health, how you relate, with food, how you relate, with your family, obviously with your partner, how you relate to life. With your habits, with your hobbies, with your living, how do you relate? It goes through an audit. It is as if this month of May there was a general review and we could somehow outline what has been disconfigured a little, which is not well aligned with the voice of the soul. Do we know that each one of us is constantly evolving? And what if you evolve and you are not the same person you were 5 years ago? Maybe your way of relating doesn't have to be exactly the same either, and what worked for you before doesn't have to be working now. So the month of May, what does this audit bring us, and how are we going to be able to somehow assess that something perhaps needs to be reviewed? Because as I said in the introduction of this podcast, because life is going to bring us some inconveniences than others, but first let's go step by step. In the month of April, the beings of light told us that an energy node was coming. I don't know how you lived it, maybe more, maybe less. This may not be the most important thing now, but the most important thing was to be able to review that in the month of April, you could have felt that you were making decisions or that you were walking from a place of your heart. Remember that the most important thing they told us was that depending on how I lived this month of April and perhaps the beginning of May, was the rest of the year going to have a direct impact? Yes. That is, if you lived from an aligned place this month of April, the rest of the year worked in your favor from a balanced, quite luminous place. Not everyone will have its story, but hey, quite stable. On the other hand, if we lived in the month of April, perhaps more unstable, and we did not raise awareness of organizing what Patapum asked to be organized, a second half of the year awaited us, perhaps a little more unstable. It doesn't mean it has to be terrifying or bad or anything, but unstable in that sense. So let me give you this reminder that even at the beginning of the month of May, we have time for, if we feel that there is a knot out there, to finish placing it. Yes, whether it is reflections, whether it is ways that everyone already knows, because I come out a little ambiguous, right? The way they send us, sometimes the messages are a little generic, but somehow it makes sense and it's coherent and it's so they can tailored to each one of us. That is, there is your responsibility to take that message and make it yours, because for each one an energy node may have manifested in different places, since each equal one, instead of review, was different, not emotionally, physically, mentally, or in relationships. So if you've been in relationships, maybe you've already started doing your homework. And if you don't, get ready, because in the month of May the relationships go to audit, and I'll be right back. Talk about this month of May that, as I told you, the beings of light tell us about how you relate to what surrounds you is going to become the main thing. Remember that these energies that reach us are always designed precisely to bring out the best version of ourselves, to continue growing, evolving, and giving meaning to being incarnated as a human being. Don't all go PA, the same together, walking the same path, but let each one find it. His path, not the authentic one, the one that gives him stability and coherence. So the way we relate is a mirror. It's a mirror and it's a two-way mirror. Does it mean that it can give you clues to something that's not working inside you? When a relationship there is not quite in balance, you can look inside and see if there is something that is not in balance there either. And at the same time, healthy relationships can help nourish you significantly. Those shortcomings that also need to be relocated in you. Be careful, and here I'm not talking about filling gaps based on external relationships, Those would be non-luminous relationships, they would be attachment, non-dependent relationships, and so on. But it is true, and here I am going to put the typical example one can be there, as if with an emotional nuisance there because he has therefore had a disgust. And you meet a good friend, you talk for a while, and hey, life has another color, yes or no? Those are positive relationships that help us in the sense that the beings of light commented on, right? And having healthy relationships is always going to help us very, very, very much. So this audit is very necessary to do it every X time. And it seems that the month of May touches Chimpum. We have a review as if it were the car review. So review of relationships, and as I told you at the beginning, the relationships in general that we can have can be with our body, with our mind, with the soul, with the emotions. But we can also, not from here, which would be like the most basic thing to put it and outline it fine, not in what you can relate to, obviously with people, with projects, how you relate to nature, how you relate to being a mammal. How do you relate to food or the resources you have around you? How do you relate to spaces? How do you relate to your home, to the place where you work? How do you relate to, well, I don't know, even to the subway or the train if you have to go to work with that vehicle? No. How do you relate to all this? How do you relate to your history? How do you relate to your childhood? How do you relate to even other lives? How do you relate to your ancestors? Maybe the most recent ones are easier to define, but how do you relate even to your great-great-grandfather, to your great-great-grandmother? Maybe you haven't paid attention to it, but be careful, because in the month of May you can get this thing afloat. How do you relate to time? And you could go on like that, right? And go on and on and on. In the end, what has to be clear is that it's not personal person-to-person relationships, it's you being the center of this whole story, being the center of this audit. How do you relate to being alive? To being alive, how do you relate? So from there, the month of May, maybe you will begin to feel certain discomfort. Look, I'm going to share with you when something is balanced or when it is unbalanced. And here I have been very generic, but you are going to allow me to take these phrases that I share with you so that you have a guide, but more or less. If you have the month of May that is well-balanced relationships, how will you feel? Well, with inner peace, with clear and honest relationships, wanting by loving who you are, making decisions from love, knowing that you are where you have to be, and also with those people or beings with whom you have to be, knowing how to say yes and knowing how to say no with assertiveness, that is not always easy. Feeling that you have balance with your time, with your agenda, with your moments, knowing that you have a coherent diet, knowing you with a beautiful story. Maybe it's been easier, less easy, but it's beautiful. It's brought you wisdom, making you feel balanced, not at peace with your story. And here we could continue. These are some clues. This when you are in balance. And if you are out of balance, how can you feel? Well, maybe as an emotional overload, with mental overload, with physical imbalances, with conflicts. Sorry about your relationships, ex-relationships in this case. I mean personal, not personal, person-to-person work, etc., etc. With feelings of guilt, with self-demand, perhaps not being comfortable in your home or in the place where you frequent, or not being comfortable driving your car, whatever. Feeling that you lack time for everything, that you don't reach everything, or that time does not play in your favor, that it seems that it is eating you with food imbalances, because in excess, because less, because healthier, less healthy, imbalances in this. Not in this case, and you could go on like that again. But these two lists would have to follow you as a guide for you to understand. That the month of May is going to bring you certain discomforts. I hope I don't bring you any. It will mean that your relationships are in balance and that really over the years you have been evolving on a personal level and you have also made your relationships evolve with you. That is actually the ideal. But we know it's not always easy, right? Well, I wish that had happened, but maybe not. And obviously it's not going to happen to you in all aspects of your life, because if not, what a month of May. How tense, but maybe in some aspect of your life you feel like you have that trigger, that clue. There is something that comes into conflict, and there the month of May, the energies that surround you, Mother Earth, is asking you to put order. Already in the month of April, they told us, put order in your home, put order in your life, put order, because somehow this energy continues. It has not evolved a little, it has matured, and what it brings us is put order in your relationships. Put order because you need it. Both to continue growing, evolving, to continue bringing out the best version of yourself from yourself, and to really offer the best to others. How will you be able to offer the best version of yourself? If you are the same, maintaining some aspect that is not coherent with you still in force, you are not maintaining it. It's not like that there. I relate to food this way because that's how it has to be. I don't know, I'm giving this example so as not to be. Not dramatic, but sometimes it is true that we have it as a habit implanted there and we don't even ask ourselves or consider if it has to be changed. Why are we going in? Well, on autopilot, which is also necessary so as not to go all day like a madman. Don't you? If we had to be doing audits all day, perhaps it would be very demanding. But from time to time, life brings us opportunities like this month of May. So if you see that there is discomfort in the way you relate to your environment, celebrate it. You know why? Because it can only get better. It means that something was out of balance and now it gets there. Poof, jumps, stinks, annoys. Well, he explains to you that it is not right and that you have to look for a new place, so celebrate it, because that imbalance you have already been carrying and now it can only enter a better place, a new place. Come on, go. And what are the advice that the beings of light bring us before this scenario that the month of May brings us? No, well, look, the first thing you are going to imagine is check your current connections. Maybe it comes to you because it stinks, or maybe you want to do a little audit. It means being attentive, becoming aware in the next few days you are doing your life and you pay attention, not off. Well, in a certain way, how are you going to buy the bread? Or how? You may still be at home if you are relaxed, maybe at home or not. Well, become aware. The beings of light tell you, review your current bonds, how you relate to what surrounds you. And this not only comes like that, but what the beings of light are really asking you, especially the Archangel Uriel, who is a fantastic accompaniment. Archangel Uriel, he sponsors us a lot this month. It's coherent, that is, it's coherent with who you are today. It's not so much, no, but it works. Okay, that is, okay, I get up at 8 in the morning and it works. Okay, now, but he doesn't ask you that's consistent with who you are. There are people who may be more daytime, others more nocturnal. It is consistent with what you know and know about yourself. Okay? There are times when we are not going to be able to change it. The children have to go to school. It doesn't matter if you are day or night. This is what there is, okay? But there are other cases in which we cannot. So what the beings of light tell you is seek coherence. Be coherent between what you feel, what you say, and what you do. Be authentic. Be authentic. Look for that place where the balance between soul and your reality. Can it manifest? Can be tangible? That's how you commit yourself. They tell you, commit yourself to your coherence. Don't commit yourself to another. Don't commit yourself to society. Don't you good? It's nice, huh? When are these commitments born from the heart? I'm not saying that you don't have that commitments born from the light are beautiful, but that's not the approach. The approach is to commit to being coherent with yourself. Yes, it is the first advice of the beings of light. And the second, what is it? Well, take responsibility. Exactly. Take emotional responsibility. Take tangible responsibility. That is, it is not worth just reviewing the bonds and saying, wow, this is not going well, it is not coherent with who I am, and don't do anything. It is take responsibility of your life, of your ties, and somehow find solutions. I mean, maybe the problem isn't going to buy bread. Maybe the problem is, I don't know, I'm not here giving examples. No, maybe the problem is not going to buy bread, and that's it, if not that. Maybe that's not the ideal bakery. Maybe you have to change bakery because of course you are going to buy bread and the baker because he is always on his nose, and maybe you go out and the bread no longer suits you well. Maybe the problem is not the bread, it's the bakery, and you can change, or maybe, I don't know, they're examples. But even in a relationship, you can have a relationship with a good friend and hey, is there something wrong? Every time you see a coworker, it seems that it doesn't just flow, it becomes heavy, it becomes annoying, it becomes, maybe you don't have to stop talking to that person. He takes sincere responsibility, but yes, maybe. Do you have to set new limits? Maybe you have to explain to him that he hears talking, open his heart and tell him, look, you really exhaust me, don't you? Well, find more politically correct ways, just like explaining it. We all know that things can be said well, you can say everything well, you can say everything, but it's true that there are people who can be very demanding, and well, it's a bad relationship. It doesn't always mean sometimes yes, sometimes you have to say, look, that's it. Limit? No. You don't have to take care of your health, and that is essential, but on other occasions it is simply reformulating the way you relate, and that is taking emotional responsibility. It's not that you have to make hasty decisions, not seek emotional intelligence, but you do take responsibility for the relationships you have. The relationships you have two extremes. Always a relationship is energetically a bond and has two ends, and one end you hold it. With which, if you relate toxically with a person, with a habit, with a place, with a memory, remember that you are taking one of the extremes. It is your responsibility with affection. I don't mean that I don't say guilt, it's not your fault, not that the word guilt vanished. But if you take responsibility, you empower yourself, you become a superhero, a superheroine. So you're able to change the situation? Yes, then. What options do you have in a sensible and coherent way to transform that relationship? What options do you have then? From there, maybe it won't be overnight, but the month of May will tell you, look at it, pay attention to it, you won't escape May, it won't leave you here audit. Then the third and final tip, which is a little related to not making hasty decisions, especially drastic ones, take your decisions to heart. Because of course, when we have a relationship that may not be in balance, it can manifest a certain toxicity. And this toxicity can sometimes come out of us from, disgust or anger or sadness, or, it can color us, not this decision. Because in the end, there is an imbalance there. So before you make any momentous decisions, especially drastic ones, please pass it through the filter of your heart. Take it to the heart. You can do it energetically by speaking, because by visualizing this relationship and letting it go to the heart, you don't visualize it, you take it to the heart, you feel it, and you allow the heart to tell you, talk to you, show you through feelings and emotions. Anyway, new information that is perhaps important to put on the table. If this more energetic way is still not tangible enough for you, you can write. Not saying I want to have a dialogue with my heart, you can even write it up on the paper. Dialogue with my heart, and there you put one hand to the heart and the other you write and allow your voice to express itself on the paper. And this voice will be well influenced by the energy of your heart, won't it? And from there, perhaps even the text evolves at the beginning. Even if there is resentment, anger, sadness, attachment, whatever. The dialogue comes from there, and little by little revolutions go down and it enters a more loving place. And that also means more consistent with who you really are, But the wound is blood, so this is fantastic advice. Run it through the heart, through that little filter. It could also be very valid to put, for example, here the tricks that you think are fantastic, because I know that those of you who listen to me have a lot of fantastic resources. Hey, if you can think of any nice ones, you can put them in the comments. I'm sure many people are fascinated by reading you, but another one that comes to mind is working with rose quartz, putting it on top of the bed. And how can we plan not to decree that the heart organize these new decisions that night? No, and when you sleep, that medicine can be given to you, and in the morning evaluate the same. Has anything changed? Maybe the decision has not changed, or it has taken on new nuances, details, or maybe it has changed completely, or everything is fine. So this advice is very valid, so that above all, the wound does not speak. Let the soul speak. Yes, because if the wound speaks, well, we already know. No, from the wound sometimes we do or undo, not always in a central place. Okay, so, well, the month of May seems like a new challenge. And welcome the challenge, right? The advantage is that we are also going to exhaust a lot of mental clarity. It seems that the energy that reaches us is also going to be quite clear. It is not going to be, that is, if we are aware of it, if we do not let ourselves get carried away by the situation, if we do not enter the wound, the victim, and these things that sometimes don't happen because we are human. And hey, if a little while passes as nothing happens either. But then if we know how to redirect that, and we allow ourselves to look at it from the neutral within our possibilities. In reality, the students say that there will be quite a bit of clarity this month of May, because one thing does not come without the other. The challenge comes to us and the tool does not, which can be useful to us. Clarity, because it seems that it is going to be very, very, very beneficial to be able to relocate your way from which you live, your way of relating to people. With habits, with your work, with your projects, with food, with nature, right? With your story and with time. And here we went on and on. Well, I think it's going to be a very beautiful month of May. I perceive it like this, very beautiful for each of us. If we don't let ourselves be dragged there by emotions that mess us up, it really doesn't have to mess up our hair, but on the contrary, it's still a bit of that energy to put order, and how interesting it is that way. Well, these are the energies that accompany us in the month of May. From Light and Consciousness, the proposals are similar to those of last month. Remember, if you like this channeling thing, you might want to unload a free guided channeling that I have available. I leave you the link here, the description of this podcast, of this video. And also, if you wish, every month I send you a ritualized message to your email inbox, which are channeled messages. I have a database of hundreds of messages that are channeled and ritualized so that every month you get that message. Perfect for you. That said, along with these energies from the month of May that I share with you, what is the message that is then tailor-made for you? And merge them, complement them. And I do have to send this to you because it is made for you and it has to arrive in your email inbox to be yours. Very good. This generalization works to a certain extent. Then there are moments in which each one's story is unique. And of course, if you feel like learning how to channel and with a guided meditation, you still say, oh, I'm left with too many ganitas. You have the course to learn how to channel available, which I hope is also something that inspires you for you. Remember that this channeling and connecting with beings of light is something that actually belongs to all of us. It's part of your biology, your DNA, your voice, your soul. So why not give it a chance and see what happens when you allow yourself to discover that there's more to you than you thought? And that's it. I send you a hug, immense, full of love. If this video has helped you, please share it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. All of this helps me reach more people and also helps me to know what type of videos you like most, what type of content you like most, if I share with you, etc., etc. I send you a huge hug and may you have a fantastic month of May.